Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome. You found your way to our sacred wisdom circle. We are linked together by a golden thread. We are lighthouses and beacons of truth guiding the way. Through deep conversations and shared wisdom, we illuminate the path and heal through truth. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. And it's good to be back after a 2-week hiatus.
I'm so excited. We've got Angela she's got stuff going on that she's going to talk about, and Pam that's still in India and joining us today. So I'm super excited for today. And we have Janice who's not feeling, she's under the weather today, so she won't be on, but we're sending her all the love
Oh,
and healing.
absolutely. Awesome.
So,
So,
Pam, you're in
yeah,
India right now. Tell us a little bit about how your last few weeks have been.
the last couple of weeks have been amazing. I did not know what to expect, but let me tell you, coming to India exposes so much about ourselves, right? And living in the Western world versus this Eastern country, which is, 1/3 the size of Canada, and yet the capacity of people is like 1.45 billion people, where in
Wow.
Canada there's only like 45 million for all of Canada. So very, very busy, chaotic. What it's just incredible to see the divine at work. Like cows on the road, animals on the road, bikes, scooting in and out, honking horns here, not just out of annoyance, but out of saying hello. Um, Turning a signal meaning something very different than it does back at home. It has been it's really amazing and the beautiful bright colors. Everyone thinks that India is so dirty. I had all kinds of warning. And it definitely has that aspect, but it also has the beauty, people in their bright colors and so, so, so friendly. Like I can't even express to you how kind and friendly. I caught a cold. I was at the hospital because I had an ear infection. The front desk man made sure I had a, hotel room that was closer to the front if I needed it. Um, I had the experience of monkeys in my room, wild monkeys in my room. I fell
I saw
asleep.
that picture.
I forgot to shut the window, and in the afternoon, and I woke up, and lo and behold, there was two of them in the room, two of them outside. And one of them was eating a sugar packet. Like they must have sensed that I was there because they didn't touch anything else. And when I tried to shoo them out, this one literally looked like he was going to charge at me, not in a not in a really vicious way, but in an intimidating way. And I'm like, oh, I think it's time that I speak to the front desk. But as I did that, he left. But I got a beautiful picture of him sitting on the coffee table with the granules of sugars in his beard. It's like so
I
it's
saw that.
just been really wonderful. I've had meltdowns. I've met 15 amazing people. I went to Oroville, which is a experiment in humanity, it's called, but it was like something from Star Trek. I couldn't take any pictures. Some banyan tree, things that are looked after by volunteers. Went into people's homes for dinner, and just seeing and feeling the joy they had serving us. It's just been really magical. Meltdowns around some of my own messaging. And I mean, that was what it was all about because I'm about growth and about learning and and know that we are work in progress our entire life, and this just proved it to the nth degree. So I really do encourage if anyone in the future wants to go. This trek was called Shakti Yatra, Shakti Yatra, and it really is magic. VJ has put something together that's been really wonderful. But I've met people from Denver, San Diego, New Mexico, very all heart-centered, beautiful beings. So really, really magical. I've learned, po- posted about tipping over in our Western world is really about, how good of a job somebody is doing. In India, it's gratitude. It's not about how good of a job, it's the fact that they are serving us and having gratitude for that. So that was a really, really huge takeaway. I really want to see the world through another lens, and that's exactly what I got.
Oh, yay! Huge win.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Fantastic. I'm smiling at you with the monkeys because here, yeah, if you go into the game parks and you leave your windows open in your cottages and things, there's no way that the monkeys will stay out. So I was just smiling. And here, for those who don't know, is South Africa, as opposed to India, where Pam is.
Yep.
So I was just smiling about the monkeys. Oh, yeah.
And I was
Totally.
just talking about before we jumped on, Angela and I were having this conversation where I'm from Canada and on the East Coast in Canada. So I've always lived here. So I've never had it like I've been down through the North America, have been to South America, but all through in different areas of North America, but experiencing different things. Like Angela, I'm sitting here, we were having this conversation before, just different experiences of like, I've never, like, I'm trying to imagine her experiencing, and I know people do it all the time, but like, the winter being December, or the winter not being, sorry, December used to like the summer, the other way around. Sorry, I can't even wrap my head around it. See,
Well, I wouldn't know what it's like to have a white Christmas. We only know sunny Christmases.
right?
So yeah,
Interesting.
interesting. It's just very interesting.
So, and like what you're experiencing over there, Pam, like some things that are very culturally and environmentally different, right? And experiencing things that, that we wouldn't normally or like you said, shifting our awareness around.
Yeah, and it's
Oh,
also a
and going
celebration of our
into the
diversity.
absolutely it is. Like, going in the diversity is incredible. Like I said, the kindness, the warmth, the acceptance, having conversations with people. I was really, one of the biggest things for me was being at the Mahatma Gandhi statue in Pondicherry, or Pondicherry. And I'm telling you, like, I was just really moved because I wore his ring for 30 years and lost it not long ago. So it's very interesting that I, lo and behold, end up there. Um, yeah, it's experiencing warm weather here. Like, and I know we've gotten a lot of snow back home. Um, my partner was saying there was even an earthquake in our area.
Oh,
It's
really?
either an earthquake or a frost quake. Yeah.
Interesting.
4.7 on a Richter scale. So,
I've never heard of a
um,
frost. Never heard
yeah,
of a
it's
frostquake.
I
So I've never heard of a
really
frostquake. Yeah, never.
Me neither.
neither have I. Neither have I. But apparently the earth but apparently the earth can get that cold that it can crack and shift. And I thought that's interesting. That's a new one for me as well. So yeah,
Interesting.
there'll be lots. And speaking with VJ who organized this, he said like things will happen for weeks to come. Like, it's like you integrate everything that you've learned. You can't possibly, while in it, be able to integrate it. But it's like, it's been incredible.
Even the decompressing afterwards and the travel, like you're going to have those times. I know from my experience, I went to the Bahamas for a retreat and it wasn't so like, yes, like you said, when you're in it, but then it's even the processing on the way home and the next few days as things kind of just piece together in your mind, you really integrate that information. It's powerful.
And
And I
seeing signs here that, like, are like stop child marriages, children's marriage, or children getting into marriages. Um, a peace, I can't remember kills wars. Only peace can kill wars. And I was like, oh my God, like there's just, and recognizing that regardless of where we are in the world, we're more alike than what we realize.
Yep. 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 And there
And
is that, in as much as there's so much diversity culturally, climatically, whether we're talking about economics, there's still that whole thing that brings us together in unity because we are still all part of humanity.
mhm,
I wanted to pick up on something that you were saying, Pam, around the fact that any form, and whether you're traveling a country or whether you're going on a retreat or whether you're doing like I've been doing for 2 weeks, solid weeks inner work, there's always that integration. Because it's kind of like pieces of us. If you think about our chakras all going out of alignment and then they start to lock back in again, and that
yeah.
integration, and then the grounding. So it's not just integrating, it's also grounding back into ourselves with this new or remembered essence of who we are or what we've learned. Um,
Oh,
I, I
yeah.
think, yeah, one of the things that really is it accelerates that is traveling to another country, and one that is as diverse for you as India is for Canada.
Yeah. Putting my feet in the Arabian Sea or the Arabian Ocean, um, walking through a farm, barefoot in the mud with the farmer and him talking about all of the different plants, talking about eating from uh, the what Mother Nature gives us. Like they don't suffer with diabetes. They don't suffer with a lot of things that we do, and it's because we have so much processed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
over
I
there,
see you
there's
got
not.
henna. I see you got henna tattoos on your hand.
Oh yeah, I got henna done. It's wearing off rather quickly, but yes, that was really fun. Had the girls come in. We saw classical dance. We saw storytelling where men are dressed up in the makeup, and it's an old theater. It was incredible. That was tonight, actually. The food has been phenomenal, but again, it's whole food. It's fresh food, no matter where you're going. And it's been some of it a little spicier or a little more flavorful, as they like to call it, than what my palate is used to, but still delicious. So, yeah, I can't rave enough about it. So, tell me a little bit what's been going on with you, Angela.
Woo! I've been through a cycle of very deep, 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 deep inner work, working around old beliefs. Some people refer to them as kind of defects of character. They don't, they're distortions. Bringing all that stuff up to the surface. It's been part of the kind of the end of the 2025 9-year cycle and the beginning of the new one, because I think that this is one of the things that everybody goes, oh, we're going into a new cycle. Year what? Like it's year what? Nah, nah. There's still that lag from the end of the old energy before the new energy really starts to anchor in. So it's been a lot of clearing around that. And the interesting thing for me is that it's taken me into a cycle of grieving. And
Mm.
this is not the grieving of somebody having passed over. Yes, there is that part of the grief, but it's been around so many different aspects of how grief has actually shown itself. Grieving about relationships, grieving about changes in life cycle, grieving around. I mean, one of the ones that was really interesting was a whole bunch of grief around whether I actually would end up fulfilling my purpose. I mean, that's future. It's around a future orientation as opposed to past. There
Hmm.
was grief around a situation that had occurred with my son during the course of last year that was a grieving of the loss of trust in our relationship, more him of me than me of him. So there was that. There was the grief of the last 23 years worth of work and whether it ever is going to see the light of day. It's all of that stuff. And it all just came up to the surface. And I sat with it. I just sat with it. I didn't sit in it, or I didn't sit in it. I just sat with it and allowed these wave after wave after wave just to work through. I mean, it left me really, really tired, which is why I haven't been around for the last 2 weeks. I just didn't have the capacity. I mean, my bandwidth was like zero, that I didn't have anything left to give. And so, what's been so interesting this week, talking about integration, talking about alignment, talking about coherence, talking about all these things that we've been speaking about, the experience that I had this morning was I felt myself settling into myself, which is just almost dropping in. And the
Did you,
peace and the
Angela?
freedom. Yeah,
Sorry to interrupt. We missed part of it. You kind of glitched a little bit, at least from my perspective. If you could,
Yeah, terrifying.
yeah, no,
if you could reshare.
yeah. My internet was. Where did you get to? Where did I stop? That you stopped hearing?
We heard about the grief and
Um,
but what's that next?
Okay, so that thing around, so there's all the integrating that we do as we go through transformation, but the thing that really wouldn't say surprised me, but it was such a beautiful experience this morning was that I felt a shift in the energy that the integration has actually happened. And what I felt like was I was settling. You know, like when you shake a bottle and the sediment settles, I just felt myself settling into myself, completely grounding. And the thing that I've learned through these 2 weeks is that what grief does for us when we allow ourselves to go through and experience grief on whatever level it means, whether people are leaving jobs and retiring, whether there's an end of a relationship or a marriage, whether there's like I have a fallout in my family and, things like, I don't know if I told you ladies, I'm going to become a nana in July. My daughter's having, oh,
Congratulations.
thank you. My daughter's having
Wonderful.
a little girl in July. But what came with that was the grief that I can't even share that with my sister because we don't speak with each other. So there's all these layers and layers and layers of grief, or these veils that just keep peeling away and peeling away. The interesting thing that sits underneath that is wisdom. When we get through it, and that's what I've been finding, is that getting through the grief takes me to wisdom. I can't put it, kind of try and explain it. Um, but it's what I'm experiencing. And also with that, the freedom of truly letting go of all these distortions that, I know, Pam, you talk about it a lot with the work that you do with people, but releasing all these distortions around the erroneous beliefs that we've built this sense of ourselves. And of course, there's also the grieving of the loss of the ego. And not that an ego is a bad thing, because there's a very healthy ego as well, but it's the loss of that. It's the 3D pull back into. And what was really interesting as well for me sitting through this cycle was that the new context is still emerging. And in the absence of a context, we fall back into an old context because that's all we know. And so, often we talk about, we go down the rabbit hole or we pick up old habits or things like that. It was just being aware of the fact that there was this pull towards what was familiar because I had no context to understand what was actually happening whilst the new was emerging. And that was the thing as well, was a huge, huge realization that that's all that is. It's not the fact that we're regressing. It's not the fact that we have relapsed or any of those labels that are put onto people who go through journeys who feel or think that they've relapsed. And it's not about that at all. It's just the fact that the new context. Somebody told me the other day, there's a stunning analogy of this. And that is that we climb a staircase as we're going through an ascension energy, always we're climbing up something or a staircase, or we're going through a spiral. And all we've done is we've completed a series of the staircase, but the new staircase hasn't emerged yet. And so that integration, the coherence, the kind of collective coming together, the cadence, all of that stuff is on the landing between the two staircases. So if we rush from one staircase to the next, we're not allowing, as you're saying too, Ilana, we're not allowing that integration and that reconnection to take place as we come in. In some circles, it's referred to as re-entry, when we re-enter into our normal lives, and it needs to settle. And so
Right.
that's been my last 2 weeks. But I have to tell you, I have been sleeping like I've never slept in my life before. And not even so much at night, during the day, naps. I'm trying to do a little bit of work and my eyes are glazing over. I'm going, no, time to close up and have a nap, and which is what I've been doing. So it's been a lot of not only the introspective work, but also a lot of self-care and honoring myself going through the process. So I'm sorry that I missed 2 weeks with you guys, but yeah, as I said, there was nothing. There was
And,
nothing.
Angela, you're speaking very similar language, even though I'm on it's a vacation, but it's a quest. There has been a lot of things stirred, um, limiting beliefs for myself. Um, I recognize how wasn't honoring myself. So this trip, I missed out on some things, not a lot, but on some things because I needed to honor myself in where I was at and what was going on for me. And that is so, so important
Yep.
because what I discovered is that I have been still very much in a fight mode. My body is telling me I'm
Yep.
still on guard. And
Mm.
I had a conversation with my partner, sharing this with him because what I recognized is every time I went into the situation with the family, I that guardedness would be
Yep.
exasperated and come to the surface again, and I wasn't honoring me,
Yep.
because I want things to be more cohesive with everybody. And it was really, really incredible to recognize that, oh my God, yeah, no, I need to honor myself. There's no malice, there's no hate, there's no hurt anymore because I can take responsibility for what I'm putting myself into.
Yep.
And if it's not aligned with me and if it's not respectful of me, I'm no longer going to allow myself to be in situations that makes me feel
Yep.
small or invisible because my body's telling me that I can't do that. I mean, this group of people who, other than VJ, are perfect strangers, have given me so much love and support. And we've given each other love and support because we've all got to share our stories. And really, there's a lot of similarities in our stories too, which was, again, that synchronistic aspect. So, honoring ourselves is, you know, paramount at this particular point in time.
Yeah. Very much so. And I agree with you as well. That's the other insights that came through this 2 week cycle as well is how much we armor up and
Yes.
how much we still in survival, flight, fight, freeze, or fawn mode.
Yep.
And how that armoring up is preventing us from moving into in the flow. I mean, I'm kind of going, I'm listening to you guys going, well, I got this work in and I got that work in and and I'm going, hello, have you forgotten? Here I am. and and the thing around this is, and I mean, we can say it with a whole lot of humor and a lot of laughter, is that all of this is preparation. It's all building spiritual muscle for what we might not know yet. And it
Yep.
doesn't matter whether we know or not. It's about, excuse me, it's about the clearing away of the distortions, being in that beautiful space in between, as uncomfortable as it can be at times, and then moving into or allowing, receiving the new energy to come in as opposed to trying to contrive it.
Yep.
So that's been another insight as well is just it's just being. And this is probably one of the most challenging things for any of us on the not only the honoring of ourselves, but also being. Because when I know who I am as a being, then I can honor myself. If I don't know who that is, it makes it very difficult to honor myself. And that's when I twist myself into a pretzel and I compromise myself and I give away my authenticity. Um, and I go
And
into
that's
people pleasing mode. And that's all survival stuff. Sorry, Alana. We need
no, no,
to.
no. I'm sorry. I went to interrupt it, but I was just going to say what I just wanted to catch it because what you're sharing, like you said, is what most people are doing. Most of us in society do exactly what you're speaking of. And it's recognizing that as survival mode,
Mhm.
as just the things that we need to do to protect ourselves and to get by so that we fit in, so that we don't create waves, so that we fit the box. And literally what's going on in the world. This is kind of where I wanted to hear both of your experiences, and this has been phenomenal. But this is it. It's like the evolution of where we're going. And we need to do this integration. We need to, and Angela, don't feel bad for like, oh, where am I? Like you said, well, where's my thing coming through? And no, because each of us go through this experience to, like you said, become who we need to do, but we need to get rid of the layers of the things in between. And we do that, like you said, at every level as we go up those steps. There's another level, we stop and we have these things that show up, we integrate and we move up again. But every level, it's a recognizing of ourselves and what we've come through, where we're going. So we don't need to judge any of our journeys about what they look like, whether they look like the divine timing happens for every single one of us. And no matter what we do to try to control it, it always shows up in the right time, no matter how
Absolutely.
hard we try. But it's literally like you said, it's that allowing it to happen so that we can we don't even so that we can let go of the survival mode.
Yeah.
And that's what the world is asking for right now. It's no wonder the world is shaking. No wonder things feel shaky and scary and all of this stuff is happening. Chaos happens in order to create disorder to restructure.
Yep.
It needs to
Mhm.
fall apart
And
before it can come back together.
And also, if you are listening or watching us today, there's no judgment and there's no polarizing into this is right and this is wrong. None
Mm-mm.
at all. It's a progression, it's a journey, and it's a part of our own individual and collective awakening.
Mhm.
It's dispelling all the nonsense that's been put into our heads over decades, generations, even more pervasive today with the degree of noise that there is in the social media space, and how people are hanging or hooking on to things outside of themselves in order for them to feel valid. And that's the other thing. It's not only being seen and heard, it's about a sense of validation. And if the outside world is validating me, then I'm okay. No, absolutely not. When we move and do the inner work and then go outwards, we don't need the outer world's validation because we're okay and secure with who we are. And we've moved out of that survival mode into, I'm not even going to put a label it on into, now we're thriving. Doesn't work like that either. It's about moving out of that energy of survival into standing in our truth and being authentic, and everything else then follows afterwards. And so, and I think the other thing too is that also to be a little bit wary of things like, and I'm not saying they're wrong, okay? Please don't take it the wrong way at all, what I'm saying here. Things like human design, the Enneagram, DISC, all of those things, all they are designed to do is to give us a window into understanding who we are, as opposed to a definition of this is who I am, because that particular instrument told me that. It's not about that. It's about expanding awareness that leads us to our truth. Because even
Mhm.
in all these instruments and things outside of ourselves, they're still outside of ourselves. They're still not that inner going inward and discovering our truth. And I'm sure, Pam, that's something that you've been
Oh,
discovering, particularly on your journey.
absolutely. This wasn't growth is not for the faint of heart. For
Yep.
anyone who's out there watching, it is not for the faint of heart. Even taking a trip to India, which is magical, everything about it has been magical. It's it really is that element of, okay, this is another part of my journey to bring awareness to all of me, the flaws, the beauty, everything that maybe I might be missing. And the other thing is, we're always, in general, we're always striving for the next thing instead of being okay with where we are right now.
Yep.
Right. I've called that destination addiction before, but 2020 was really hard on a lot of people because everything that everyone knew that would make them happy was taken away.
Yep.
They didn't, and then they were lost. They didn't know who they were. Now people are turning more spiritually, but they are, you're right, still looking for external validation. They're looking for someone to guide them. And that's where it can get problematic because guidance is great, but you want to start listening to yourself because you do have your own guidance. You do have
Absolutely.
your own wisdom. And so if you're relying on anything outside of yourself, you're going to run into more difficulties and challenges until
Yep.
you recognize that. And again, there's no timeline on this, and it's dependent on the person and how closely you learn the lessons. But even in that being said, I've learned a lot of lessons. I've done a lot of growth, and here I am, in India and discovering a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And it's peeling away the layers, and it's remembering that as we heal, there is always more to be
Yep.
explored.
More is always going to be revealed. And it's also, again, go back to, and this is important for anybody who's listening or watching. There's no value judgment about what's right or wrong. And what's right for me may not be right for somebody else. But what I do know for sure is that if we don't slow down and take that time out, the inner work can never happen because we're just confronted by this noise all the time. And it
Mhm.
just gets louder and louder and louder. And and this is, I think, for a lot of people, the thing that they're most afraid of is going into the quiet.
Oh,
You know what?
100%.
India has a lot of noise, but you can find quiet in the noise too. It just takes practice.
Yeah.
And
I'm talking more about this, the influences and the social media and how many likes and followers. That noise is the
oh yeah,
noise that I'm referring to.
Well, that
yeah,
too, both of them. And that's the thing is it's all a practice to again, we've never been taught to go inward. We've never been
yeah.
taught to follow our own inner guidance. We've always been taught to seek outside of us. And so, like you said, Angela, as we get into the spiritual journey, we then need tools and not that we need them. They're all exactly what we need when we need them. And there's nothing wrong with them. Like you said, it's just a matter of, yes, it gives you a window. It allows you to see and understand in a way that you may not have perceived it before. And you're also it solidifies the idea of, oh, that feels right for me. You get to feel into that truth. That in itself is your inner guidance system. And it's learning to tap into that so that doesn't matter where you are. It's a practice of learning to understand how that inner guidance system works and what it looks like and feels like for you because it's different for everybody. And we get to play with this idea within ourselves. And does this feel right? Does that feel right? That's inner guidance. So when we're
And it's
in this
yeah,
space of allowing and slowing down, and this is one of the biggest aha moments, one of the wins from the clients that I'm currently working with right now. Huge win they shared this week is I didn't realize how much clarity was in the pause.
Correct.
Like,
Correct,
and that's it.
correct. And the other thing that I've learned through these 2 weeks is that where we experience this energy of grief in our bodies is in the sacral chakra. We're holding it in our sacral chakra. And so for me, it was different to the energy of December, which felt like I was cocooning. This time I felt like I was actually in the womb, that I was being held in the Divine Mother's womb. It felt so sacral for me. And that's also been something that's been and of course now with the little puppet, in my daughter's womb, it was quite, it was quite, synchronistic around the two events almost happening at exactly the same time, all finding out about the baby almost at exactly the same time. And so the sacral healing, this is where you can't bypass the sacral healing and you can't bypass grief either. We try to, but it'll come back over and over again until such time as we actually move it through. And I've learned that grief is also grace. And it's a gift that takes us, it's the bridge between who we have been and who we are becoming, because we are releasing, we are letting go. And whenever we let go of something, there is a loss. And whenever there is a loss, there is grief. And yet we almost vilify grief. We weaponize it. We tell people to, build a bridge and get over it. And unless we allow it to carry us through, we don't get to experience, or certainly in my own experience, don't get to experience that true release and liberation into who I am as a being. And so it's been really interesting. And I just want to thank you and our sacred space for the love that we share in this space as well. And the care and the support that we have for each other and the space that's growing around us. Um, and this is the beautiful divine feminine doing her thing.
Yeah, because none of us are slow in what we're doing. We're taking the time, but we're still on the course. We're not giving up. We're still moving forward in the way that is most guided for each and every one of us. And like you said, we're doing it on a journey together and alongside and not in competition and not in any of these old ideas that we've created over the years. And that's like you said, it's the divine of stepping in and following what feels good and nurturing and supporting and allowing each of us to expand and supporting each other in that expansion. It's really funny. I watched this reel the other day, and I've shared it again in my client community because it just hit so interestingly that this woman was sharing that we tend to, when we get into the spiritual work, and we've talked about it a few times in our circle as well, of grounding, that we need to ground and solidify. But one of the things that was actually, it's meant to shock you because she was swearing in the video, but it was that we are supposed to ground, but we're not supposed to stay still in it. Like, yes, we
Absolutely.
need to pause. Yes, we need reach that staircase landing, but we don't stay there. And so we continue to expand and grow. One of the things she shared so well, and I can't remember her name, but she's on Instagram or TikTok or something. But what she shared there was like, yes, we ground, but we also are meant to take up space and be the light and move. And if we ground too much, well, then we're sitting roots and we're staying in place. And it's like, no. And what I experienced through that is like literally after I watched that video, had a call with a friend and we always like take a minute and pull cards, but we ground in those moments. And what I felt in that moment was literally okay, taking a nice deep breath in and grounding. But I also in the exact same moment felt an expansion of the breath as well. And it was like such a different feeling. And that's the thing, is that as we're growing and expanding as humans in our own growth, in each and every one of us, we do need to take the time for self-care. We do need to take the time to kind of solidify, integrate, and ground some of the information we're taking in, so we're not all up in our divine spaciness all the time. But we are
And
supposed to expand and be the light and not
absolutely.
shrink back.
And the energy that I also experienced through this as well is that this is wonderful. It's wonderful to be up here.
Mm.
And this is fast moving. But as we move down further and further, the denser and denser the energy gets.
Hmm.
And it does take longer. And yet at the same time, when we come out on the other side, there's been such an acceleration in terms of where we find ourselves. But I definitely have found as it's moved lower and lower from the solar plexus to the sacral chakra, to the root, earth root, and then into the actual earth itself, the deeper we get in the depth, the more it does take longer because it's denser.
Yeah.
And if we try to rush that, we're doing the spiritual bypass. And
Yeah.
so many people do the spiritual bypass, pass from the solar plexus to the root chakra, because, yeah, we want to have our Kundalini experience as well. The real healing, in my experience, has been stepping into the sacral chakra and allowing that womb to do what it needs to do from a healing and a nurturing point of view. And so, yeah,
Mhm.
it's been
And for
because I could live
and
up
for
here.
the
This is the fun place. This is fun up here.
But it's both, and that's what I mean, is the balance, right? We need to be in the balance of
yeah,
both. So it's
Birth
not we're
and
staying in one, we're moving through and growing into the next. Sorry. Go ahead.
it's so those of you who are watching, it's really important to know that it's okay to be where you are.
Mhm.
It is what
Both.
it is,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? And whether we're aware of it or not, we are ebbing and flowing in those things. When we talk about spirituality, it's just expanding our awareness.
Yeah.
Angela, you spoke earlier about the ego. You're right. The ego is not a bad thing. The ego is what's helped to protect us in this human experience, right? So it's learning to love that part of ourselves. It's learning to allow our light to shine, to not play small, not to hide. Those of you that are out there that are listening to us, you have the exact same light. You may be shining that light and unaware that you're shining that light. The difference is becoming aware so that you can expand and honor yourself and touch more lives. But I want you to know that you are still touching lives right now, whether you're aware of it or not. We are guided through our human experience. For myself,
Yes.
that awareness came through in 2006 when I reflected on my whole life. Like they weren't coincidences. I thought they were coincidences, and they weren't. It was being guided to do work, God's work, of God of your understanding. And that is beautiful. And the lovely thing about that is your ego isn't in the way in those moments. You're living your best life. So don't underestimate, I can't stress that enough. People listen and want to be like gurus. You are
Mhm.
your own guru. We don't
And
need
also,
other gurus.
Pam, what
We're
you're saying is so
relatable in
true.
our stories.
What you're saying is so true because when we externalize to a guru, we're giving our power away. That's not
Mhm.
to say that there aren't people who are enlightened who we meet upon our path. But if we deify them, we're giving our power because it's still external, it's still outside of ourselves, and we are still in this situation of where we're giving our power away. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
so these beautiful enlightened beings that come across our path, and even those that are the so-called negative experiences of people that we have in our life, they're probably our most powerful teachers anyway. Um, it's around take what we like, learn from it, and leave the rest. And that's where
Mhm.
we talk about these things, and people go, "Oh, they soft skills." They're so not. They higher order skills. Coherence, discernment is a big one in terms of it being almost a higher order spiritual skill. Awareness is another one. We talk about these things almost like they're character traits in the sense that they're actually not, they're higher order skills that allow us to be more true to ourselves. They're the tools that we have as our authenticity. So, yeah, it's been a really interesting 2 weeks and very huge growth. I'm quite interested to see what's going to start emerging out of this.
I
So,
imagine. The
we'll
other
see.
thing I want to share too that you had touched on at the very beginning, Angela, of what you were sharing you've been going through, and you said like, we rushed through the new year, and we're like, oh well, now that's the old, and today this is a new cycle, so I can let go. We're also in the Chinese New Year, which continues with the snake, the old wood snake that's been kicking around, and it's about shedding and releasing all the old. And the new Chinese New Year doesn't happen until February 17th to the 20th. So this stuff's still gonna show up, and that's okay. So, and the other thing was like, Angela's been going through the sacral healing, and that's okay. And so some of us are in that space, and some of us are like, and Pam's going through some really incredible experiences, which are part of her sacral and her solar plexus identity, what's going on for her, what's showing up. And so there's also some of us that are in, and we can all be in these spaces at the same time and have different experiences in it. So, like, for me, I'm moving, like, I'm definitely up here, I'm getting there, and there's so much movement and so much, like, not chaos, but like things are busy for a reason. And it's like we all get the experience in whatever way we need it, but don't judge it, like was mentioned earlier, and know that as you move forward, there's still time to have the healing and have the let go and have the release and step into what we're stepping into in the fire horse here, which is momentum, which is going to be amazing if you want to hold on to it, but allow
Well,
it to happen.
we can be galloping or we can be cantering. So, and
The
we
other,
get to choose.
the other thing is too, is as you're talking, Alana, the thing that comes up for me as well is that there are perpetual cycles. We
Yeah.
just have to look at nature, spring, summer, autumn, winter, and how Mother Nature, regulates herself through those three things. Winter is a time of self-care, of nurturing in your part of the world. I mean, ours is in July, but for
Well, that's
you,
what I mean. I was just saying, like, as we are saying that, it's like, well, we were just talking about the fact that we're experiencing different seasons at the same time, the same day on the calendar. And so, although we're like feeling different, again, we're reflecting that in our personal experiences as well. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, no, no. What I was going to say is, winter for you guys, which will be our July, log fires and kind of the cocooning and a lot of self care in the winter to allow the spring to germinate and to bring forth new life. And this is when we're in the flow of the cycles, life is so much easier
hmm
because we're not resisting anymore.
allowing. I love that. Exactly.
Yeah, I think does that kind of bring us to the
Pam, anything
closing?
else you want to share from your perspective on the other side of the world today?
It feels like a full stop.
Love, love, love does conquer all.
Yeah.
It really does. Um, Accepting all that is as it is. Not resisting the contrast in our lives, and I think that's one of the big things. I'm in India, and it's areas of it are very dirty, and yet you go through a toll booth and there's women sweeping the street. Um, how in this world they take their deceased people and they take them through the streets, and there's drumming, and there's no grieving in the way that we in the Western world grieve. They just honor the person
Yeah.
and their life. It's really, really incredible to witness and experience these things firsthand. But they're not the things we hear about. You hear about it being dirty, you hear about it being smelly. I can honestly tell you, I would say there's only been one time in the whole 2 weeks, and they were cleaning the streets. Like, it really is. It's unfortunate, the media and what people, well,
Propaganda.
I would have to say media, how it presents it, right?
And the
Yes.
propaganda around it is also insane.
Of course, when you got, 1.45 billion people, there is going to be dirtiness. There is going to be that sort of stuff. But I think the most magical thing is knowing that everything is in harmony. So my first night staying, ants on the wall, right? And I was like, oh God, because back home, what do we do? We're killing ants, right? Getting rid of them. And then a wolf spider in my bathroom, which freaked me out a little bit. I couldn't, because it was above the toilet, and there was no way that I was going to sit on the toilet. Um, they handled it quite nicely for me, but it really gives you that understanding of living at one with everything,
Yeah.
exactly as it is. It's all a part of nature, and I mean, I know there's gonna be so much more. I mean, you're only getting snippets right now of different things, but I can't wait to kind of put more pen to paper as far as the lessons go, because what we've been raised with in the Western world is, I think, more convoluted than what is actually the real world.
Yep. I agree. Absolutely agree. I agree. It's been so wonderful to see you and to share some of your India trip while you're still in India.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. Thank you both for being on today. I would love, Angela, if you want to close us off.
I will do. And thank you everybody who for blah, 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 try that again. Thank you to those who are watching and who have watched. And for joining us in this beautiful circle. And as we bring the circle to a close, the light remains not just here, but within you, within me. Let these teachings echo through your being like a lighthouse calls over the sea, steady, unwavering, and sovereign. Please share what touched your soul and subscribe if you feel the call. And always remember, you are the light, the way, and the circle will be here when you need to return. Blessings upon you all. Namaste.
Thank you both so much.
Namaste. Thank